Goddamn, she was great. It's a great song, great album. Aretha Franklin from the Blues Brothers. Of course, she did that song before the Blues Brothers, but I like that version better, but that may just be because that's the first time I ever heard it. There's Kirkland. Kirkland says, I've had some people come into my streams asking me to come back on your live. What are you getting into tonight? Hello, good sir. Good. What? Everything's great. Shut the fuck up, dog. Talking to Kirkland. We're just talking about a bunch of stuff tonight. What? No, up there. You can get up there. Get on the couch, weirdo. Welcome to AAAGames, folks. Kirkland, yeah, I'm around. Anything piques your fancy, let me know. But we do got a packed show. I appreciate you being here. It is Monday, the 19th of June. Welcome to that day. That was the Blues Brothers, which if you're listening to this after the fact, of course, I'm going to cut out of the show because I don't want a copyright strike. Insball says Sony is skipping Gamescom. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a second. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is not even really, I don't want to talk about it that much. Just want to show you. I finally settled down and started watching this show, The Boys. I know, I'd read some of the comic book, and I had seen a couple of years ago the first maybe 8-10 minutes of the pilot where the girl gets, you know what I'm talking about. And I liked it, but I was like, I get what this is. Oh, ha, 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 superheroes, violent, but I'd heard a lot of people talking about the love-hate relationship they're having right now with season 4. And I'm like, all right, let me spend a little extra time on the pilot. So I watched about 4 episodes last night. I was like, shit, I'm super in. And I watched all of Gen V. I think it was called Gen V, right? The one about college superheroes, which is a spinoff of this one. And I watched all of that. I thought that was excellent, but I am digging this. So I'm late to the party, but I'm enjoying the party nevertheless. So Movie Maniac, we'll get to that in a second. I have a bunch of very, very, very quick quote, as they say, housekeeping. I want to let you guys know what's up. So bear with me. People have said, well, where's the AAAGames the last couple days? I got an email and I got a Twitter about that. Here's what's been going on. I'm on Collins. Monday I recorded this, Sacred Symbols Plus, or Friday, whenever it was. That went up early this morning. So if you were a member, you can get that now. But that was like a 3-hour conversation. Colin and I covered everything, mostly games. We talked UFOs and all kinds of shit. That was a lot of fun. And then yesterday I was on, what do they call it? Xbox 2 with Jez and Randall Thor. So that's what I was recording yesterday. But I am back this week until Saturday or Sunday. We got today, tomorrow, the next day we've got AAAGames. And then over the weekend, of course, we do I Love the Weird. So I just wanted to let you know where I've been. Tonight, here's what is happening. So I am doing this show till about 7:15 California time. Then I got to go take my son to a birthday party with his friends. Then I'm coming back, and you know her, you love her. P Turtle thinks he's going to marry her. Gina, the G. Hey, see, her name is Gina. Yeah, and then he's sleeping. Gene and I are going to play this game called Chained Together that just came out a couple of days ago. I'll show you the trailer while we're talking about it. I may be able to get a couple more members in there if you're interested. It's a 4-player co-op. I guess everybody's in hell. They're all chained together. And apparently it's janky as fuck, but it's a lot of fun to play online together. And you're basically trying to escape out of hell. And it should be a good time for all. So that will be happening tonight about, let's see. I think we said about 8:45. So if you're interested and you're curious about the game and you want to watch us play, hit us up here on this very channel, and we'll be doing that tonight. And then, like I said, if you got the game, it's only $5, and you're a member and you want to jump in there with Gina and I, that should be okay. First come, first serve, or highest member tier, of course, gets priority. But anyway, that's happening tonight as well. Wanted to let you know. Looks like a lot of fucking fun. This has been a kind of concept that's been going around. People have been having this concept for a very long time in the industry. People have pitched it ad nauseum. Sometimes there was like a single player game that did it. There have been a number of games where you're kind of tethered together, but this one kind of looks like it actually really does capture the fantasy really, really nicely. So this is, we're going to be playing this tonight. Hopefully we will see you guys on the stream. Also, I Love the Weird last Saturday is up on the Patreon now, or all podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, or on the YouTube. Doesn't cost you any money. UFOs, ghosts, monsters, brain stuff. We talked about people who get cryogenically frozen. They've thawed some people out. It's not pretty what's happened to them. These are the people that went in, paid, not fucking with you, upwards of, was it $80,000 to freeze a head, $30,000 to freeze a body. I don't know what, you'd think it'd be the other way. Probably harder to store a head. Paid a lot of money for that, and they've thawed some of them out for various reasons, and it's pretty fucking nasty. We talked about that, disclosure of UFOs, bunch of other stuff. That was happening this weekend, so you can listen to that. Now, there's a new Clips channel up. If you like the show, but you're like, Jaffe, I don't have fucking cockadoodie all day time to listen to every goddamn fucking show. They're too long. I understand. I've arrived with the solution. We're doing a Clips channel. It's very nascent, only 111 subscribers, so I beg of you, go on over there. It's just called Jaffe Clips, and subscribe if you're interested. That way, when you get, little bite-sized nuggets of Jaffe. And then also, finally, we're about to step out of the world of housekeeping, I promise. There's a lot of stuff to update you guys on. We do have an official podcast where the AAAGames run from. I would prefer, even if you don't want to pay, you sign up over on Patreon for a free membership. You'll get the updates and get them there. But you can also just go over to AAAGames. I'll put the link up right now, which is like our Podbean site. And that is where you'll get all of the shows in audio format. There are some members-only shows that go up there, but obviously, if you're not a member, don't worry about it. They just won't appear for you. But that's happening as well. So that's the world. That's the that's the housekeeping, my friend. Do they charge more for overweight people? Says Gabrielle. Are you talking about the game? What's that game called? You're talking about Chained Together? No, I think you're talking about that. Listen to this. Let's get into game news, you little sons of bitches. Sons of bitches. Towerborn, just real quick heads up, because it was conspicuously absent from the Xbox showcase last week. I wonder what the logic was. Like, maybe they're like, look, it's a great game. People who've played the alpha say it's fantastic, but it just looks a little old school, and we want to blow the doors off this with like super next gen visuals, blah, blah, blah. But Towerborn is a Xbox exclusive. It might be going to PC as well, but it's console exclusive on Xbox. Day one Game Pass. It's kind of cool. It's a multiplayer online game, which is, it's kind of like Castle Crashers, but there's much more of an RPG aspect and a building your character and a leveling up your character of this. And they came out today and they updated their website and they said, no, this game is still coming in 2024. Of course, we don't have a date yet. One of the things that was interesting, one of the things I was actually talking to the Xbox guys about, Jez and Randall yesterday, was their launch dates are really fucking weird right now. I mean, we don't have any actual days. Indiana Jones is rumored to be in December. We know, of course, Call of Duty is, I believe, September. Is that right? But things like Avowed or things like this, we were talking about the value of them maybe holding Avowed. If I'm making this fucking Avowed game, I'd be putting Avowed out in like February, even if it's done, because you want to, if you get a bunch of people on board for Indy, if you get a bunch of people on board for Call of Duty, maybe this game is a nice little stopgap. You need something to stop people from churning after the holidays. And a big RPG, if it's good, and hoping it is, like Avowed, would do the trick. So I actually hope they push that. I think it's a smart business decision to do that, but that's my take. But that may be why we haven't really heard any concrete dates. We've just heard years. But anyway, this looks good. People who've played it, people in this very chat have played it, and they've said, no, the alpha was actually quite good. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll be playing it this year, sometime in the next, I don't know, what is it, 6 months or so? Anyway, that's some little bit news to kick us off, but let's get to the meat. Obviously the biggest game of the year looks like it's on the way. Metascore is 95 for the DLC of Elden Ring. Erdtree. What a dumb name. But the point is, people love it. People are excited. You know what I've been hearing about this game? I saw a number of people actually writing that if you're one of those people that are going out and just leveling up your character like a motherfucker in hopes that you can actually survive the DLC, which comes out tomorrow. I mean, it's officially the 20th, but I don't know if it's a midnight launch. You guys might know that. But regardless, though, sorry, I was looking at the chat. I'll get to the chat in a second. Regardless, though, this is what I've heard is people say, it's actually, I've heard people saying it's easier in the level system because it's not a grind system in this one. It's more of a, you level up and get like points, and it's just like put it in a fighter, or I can't explain it. I haven't dived deep, but it's less nuanced than Elden Ring, the core game, and in that less nuance, it's a little it's easier. Now I don't know if that's true. I've heard a few people saying it's really fucking hard, but most people I've read about it have been saying no, it's actually easier because of that system. So we'll see. I am inches away from killing that Malik death guy. And I'm absolutely not going to be playing this right away. I was thinking about it today, and I'm just like, man, I want to finish. I love Elden Ring, my favorite game of all time. And I'm just like, I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to continue to enjoy it, and I'll finish it, and then I'll play this. So I'm not, and plus I don't have the capabilities to do it. You know what I was thinking of doing? I'm very serious about this. I don't want to have to start over again, but if in the next week or two I haven't made significant progress towards the end of this game, and I think I'm almost there, I'm going to rebuy it on PC, and I'm going to get a mod that lets me, like in Spider-Man 2 or Roller Drome or whatever, just lets me slow the speed of the game down with a button press. So if I'm having a really particular challenging time, I'm going to drop the speed to like 80% so I can actually read the enemies and respond with my slower reflexes. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going to be playing it a little bit differently than you hardcore motherfuckers. Says, Artemis, 220 hours into my first playthrough and can't imagine right now doing another almost complete playthrough to access DLC. My understanding is you don't have to do that. My understanding is to get to the guy you have to kill, people have said you can speed run it in like 23 minutes. But I mean, obviously most people aren't good speed runners, but I imagine you probably, you can kind of make a beeline there now that you know what you're doing. You really want to put it out in February, talking about Towerborn with all the big games coming next year, says Cap. Well, again, we don't really know when those games are going to hit. You're absolutely right. If Doom, whatever it's called, the medieval Doom is March, then you're right. But given that all of those games they showed that they kind of said this is 2025, I don't think we're seeing Gears till 2026. I don't think we're going to be seeing Doom probably till the fall of next year. So, but if they've got stuff ready to go in January, February, March, then that'll be great. But I don't think we saw anything that's that close, but who knows? Darth Nugget says, yeah, you can do that with Elden Ring. Like you can make a beeline, but you probably won't be able to kill him at a low ass 23-minute level. Some people beat the game with one, with no leveling up and just, but I can't speak to it with any real experience. I'm on my first playthrough. I've put well over 150 hours into it. I have respec my guy probably 8 times and I still don't have a spec I like. So, I can't speak to the nuance of, if you start with a brand new game, blah, blah, blah. Well, who knows? Not me. But I'm still excited for it because it's a sequel to one of my favorite games. But, Bloodborne is in my top 10. And I finished that and then started playing the Old Hunters probably a year and a half after the Old Hunters came out. So I got to go at my own pace, boys, just because I ain't as good as some of you weirdos in the goddamn chat. But I'm looking forward to it. Also, a couple of things dropping that are worth your time, maybe. Still Wakes the Deep.
You answer me back!
Hey, shut up, you old blimey fuck! This is from the Chinese Room, I think is what it's called. They did Dear Esther, and they did Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. It's getting decent reviews. It's sitting, this is Game Pass Day 1. It's a 74 right now. Some people really like it. 90 on the 6th axis. IGN France gave it a 90, but then, some people are bringing it down. But it is a walking sim, so I think your enjoyment is going to be based on how much you dig that. But the fact that it's a Game Pass game, the fact that I can play it, no real risk involved, and I love stuff like that, and so I will definitely be giving it a try. That is out as of yesterday. Then this is a game that did appear first, I believe, on Game Pass. Whoa, that's loud. Called Echo Generation. This is Echo Generation, the Midnight Edition, though. It's got new enemy types, new combat types, upgraded graphics, fast travel. It is an excellent, really fun RPG, action RPG kind of thing. It's very Stranger Thingsy. I will be playing this. I'm very excited for this, like $22. I never finished the original game, but I played quite a bit of it and thought it was fantastic. And this is coming out today. And this one is not on Game Pass. And the original, which was just called Echo Generation, is no longer on Game Pass. But this is sitting at it just dropped today. So there's only 3 reviews. Nintendo gave it an 80, and Nintendo Life and Finger Guns gave it a 70. If you actually look at the original Echo Generation with all those reviews, that is currently sitting at a 75. So, give it a look if you're curious. Finally, there's this game. This is pretty interesting to me because, there's a lot of games. This is called Blood, and Blood is out now, and Blood is sitting at a 76. And the gist of it is, obviously, I mean, it takes so much inspiration. Clearly, let me make it bigger for you guys. From Cartoon Network kind of 90s era stuff, right? And so if you are really into that sense of humor and art style, apparently you're going to be like a happier than a pig in shit. The moment-to-moment gameplay, my understanding is it's solid. It's nothing to write home about. I see indie developers do this a lot. Hopefully they'll just learn, which is like, it's very easy when you're working on a team to get all vibing with your art style and think you're home free and you're going to make a hit because everybody who watches your game says, oh my God, it looks amazing. But fundamentally, though, all that shit wears off. We saw it with Harold Halibut. We saw a little bit of it with Drawn to Death. There's a game right now that's being made, and the person who's making it is simply stitching, like crocheting, the actual animation frames and shit. So, there's a lot of neat styles that'll catch your fancy, but then if you don't actually have some design on there to really wow people, this shit wears off real fast. But as a trailer, it looks good, and it looks like a solid title, so I'll probably be giving this a shot as well. Not sure if anybody cares, says Jeff, but Chained Together seems to be the popular game on Twitch. Well, I don't know if anybody cares, but I care. I care so much that this very evening, my friend, I am playing it with my pal Gina. We are going to be playing that tonight about 8:45, 2-player, maybe 4-player, depending if we can get some members in there. J Lord says, hey, thank you for the super chat. By the way, J Lord, I got a super chat from you for this weekend that we will be getting to later in today's show. But I will get to these 2 that you just put up now. Am I a Shantae fan? I'm a huge Shantae fan. I absolutely adore that game, that series. I haven't played all of them, but I want to say I've played all but one of them. So I'm quite looking forward to, I mean, honestly, anything that developer Way Forward does, I show up for with excitement. But Shantae is my favorite of theirs. Although River City Girls, their beat 'em up is pretty fucking good too. Okay, by the way, J Lord also dropped a very big super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, I have come to the conclusion that the reason AAA developers are not making games like Stellar Blade is they just don't want to. Unless they're Funcom, they actually like ugliness. Why is that? Well, this is what you wrote to some extent on Saturday, and just bear with me. In about 4 stories down the road, we will get to that. Because there is an interesting anecdote that came out in the Twitter world today that ties right into what you're asking. But I got to save it because it's not yet tied into the show. But we'll get there on today's show. Will you have Mark Kern on the show? I mean, Mark has been on the show once before. If you don't know Mark, he is, I don't know what's made him more known. His earlier work on Diablo 2, the new game that he's trying to get off the ground, or that frankly, I do think he's become a pretty offensive grifter. I don't have a problem with people that have different opinions than I do, but to me, it feels very transparent that he is just out there, just obsessed, trying to find anything to stir up the audience in hopes of, I don't know, maybe he's looking for engagement on Twitter because he's monetizing. I have no idea. Or maybe he really feels this way. But I'll tell you what, if you really feel like Mark Kern seems to feel, that's a man who's living way too much in his own fucking head and worried about this shit way more than anybody needs to be. But if he wants to come back on, I've asked him before. At the time I asked him a second time, he was like, yeah, it's not a good time right now, but he knows the invite stands. But it's not, it would be a conversation where it would basically open like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, what is wrong with you is what I would say to him, honestly. And I wouldn't be mean, but I would just be like, look, man, what are you doing? You can't believe half the shit that you're putting out there. And you have to know that you're kicking this hornet's nest that really doesn't need to be kicked because, you know, as he knows, as a guy who's been in, as an adult, let alone a guy who's been in game development, he knows that things are nuanced and not, there are very few black and white issues, and there's a lot of shades of gray when it comes to stuff like this, and a lot of things that he doesn't know or that I don't know that we're not privy to. And why are you acting like you have the skinny? Because you don't. That's what I would ask him. I don't know if he wants to come on and answer that question. I didn't know until yesterday, says Morgan. Hello, Morgan. Good to see you, buddy. That Way Forward, the developer, did the final Bloodstain Ritual of the Night. I didn't know that either, actually. I did not know that either. Interesting. Okay, let's move forward and talk about the big show from yesterday. If you didn't see it, you should. I'm not going to play the whole show, of course, but I'm just going to kind of skim through it. The Nintendo show. Hang on one sec. I thought the Nintendo show was superb. I thought it was excellent. It was, you know, you guys know me. I mean, I'm all about the gameplay and I'm all about the experience over the production value. And this is a testament to what they do so well and have done so well since they began, which is to sort of put gameplay at the forefront. And yeah, they want to make things that look nice, but they're not competing with Xbox or Sony or Nvidia for the prettiest looking goddamn game in the world. They want to make fun, and they do it wonderfully. And so they just rolled out first party after first party after first party interesting stuff. This is a game called Mario and Luigi. It's the first Mario Luigi game in, I think they said like 9 years. It's called Brothership. And what I don't know about this, because I played the Mario Luigi game where they get miniaturized and they get kind of sucked into Bowser's body or something like that. And that was a single player action RPG. I don't know. They haven't said, I mean, if that's the standard of this particular series, then this will be that, which sounds great. But when I saw this, I started thinking it was like Mario Luigi It Takes Two. Like this would be great if it was like online multiplayer. But I don't know if, I don't think they really gave out any information other than, hey, it's coming this year. There was a lot of stuff they dropped that's coming this year. Morgan said that it is turn-based RPG, so it must be single player. Yeah. And I didn't really understand all the mechanics. Like there's this one thing where Mario's on these platforms you saw, and Luigi's got his own little mechanic where he's doing this hammer slam, and I think it changes the platforms based on when you hit them, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, this looks like a great deal of goddamn fun. I am totally there day one. This coming out in November. Seems like a great fucking Thanksgiving game. Hopefully it could be single screen, like this section where you sit in the thing. I don't know what's happening there. I would love for this to be multiplayer, because that would be a great Thanksgiving thing to do with at least one of my kids who's really into games like this. Matt Jaffe says, keep on rocking, cousin. Thank you, buddy. Are we actually cousins? Like, I don't know. I mean, are you of the Alabama Jaffes? I don't know. I know Mark Jaffe, of course, like idiots. But I don't know Matt Jaffe. Or maybe it's just like, no, bitch, we have the same last name. Shut the fuck up. Not everybody's related to you. Shut up, Matt Jaffe. Okay, but thank you, buddy. I appreciate that super chat. Okay. Let's keep going on these shows, because these guys had, Morgan says, Where did it go? Morgan says Nintendo won the show of the entire month easily. Gameplay is king. Stop with the cinematic shit. I mean, I think you're right fundamentally, because we know that these games will be, if nothing worse, a 7.5. Probably much better than that. Whereas I think what Xbox showed is they have to actually deliver, and they don't have a history of delivering that consistently, in my opinion. So I think based on what we've seen coming down the line, yeah, you're probably right that they won. They had the best show. I'm excited for this. It's Nintendo World Championships. It's kind of thematically based on the actual World Championships, but it's just a bunch of challenges built on NES games. And what I really like the most about this is, like, they have Mario, and they have like 22 games, right? So there's Mario, and there's Kid Icarus, and there's some Zelda stuff in there. I think there's Mario Kart. Let's see. Yeah, you've got Excite Bike, Donkey Kong, Balloon Kid, I think is what it's called. Great game. Kirby. And so what I think the coolest part is, though, is there's no online multiplayer direct head-to-head. I don't think. I think what it... Actually, I'm wrong. I think what it is they have 4-player online. But I think one is you're competing against the ghosts. So it's like they put you in a match with 4 other people. You know what? I don't know. I think there's 2 different online modes. One is ghosts, where it's like, hey, can you be the person with the best time based on these other ghosts that you're fighting against. But the other one is, like, I think it starts with 20 people, and it's kind of battle royale. Regardless, though, it looks like a great deal of fun if you're into these kind of little mini games and shit like that. And by the way, it's not that it's hard to understand what the online modes are. I just don't remember, because I was watching this yesterday and I've kind of forgotten. Like, in fact, fuck it. Let's listen together, shall we? Here we go.
Skills to the test in survival mode, where you'll race against ghost data of players worldwide. After each round, half of the players will be eliminated. You've only got one shot to survive. Will you be the last one standing?
So there you go. Yeah, I'm super into this. I think it sounds like a great deal of fun. I'm very much looking forward to it. Okay. The Super Mario, yeah, we'll get to Jamboree in a second. It was like the Fred Savage movie, Mutemo, absolutely. Okay. So they showed that. Looked great. I'm going to skip a lot of this stuff that's just like third party, second party. Like, they announced that Fantasian is finally coming to something other than Apple Arcade. This is from the original Final Fantasy creator. I played it on Apple Arcade for about 2 hours. The world is great. It's actual photograph dioramas that are then used as the pre-rendered backgrounds. So visually, it's quite cool looking. Like, if you look at that, it looks like you're playing like on a Warhammer tabletop level. But the game itself was just solid. My mind wasn't blown by it. But they showed that Nintendo Switch Sports is adding basketball. I don't give a fuck. But they got some Looney Tunes sports games, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. This really was the first party stuff that really shined yesterday. They're doing an HD version of Donkey Kong Country Returns. The last Donkey Kong like this I played was Tropical Freeze on the Wii U, which I liked, but I thought it was too difficult. I don't know, is this sort of historically a difficult game? Because if it is, I don't want to play it. But I love the art style. I love the series, but I can't handle things that are punishingly hard these days. I'm not into that, but it looks great. Looks like a lot of fun. And I know people watching this are probably going, what are you talking about, Jaffe? This looks great. This is just same old shit. And all I can tell you is there is a sense of, there's a clear sense that the people at Nintendo, and this is not nostalgia talking, they've had some shit clunkers years and generations too. But the people at that company seem to be, really just obsessed with, I want to surprise and delight. That's kind of the generic thing people say in entertainment. Like, does your product surprise and delight? But Nintendo really seems to be good at putting the gamer hat on first and going, even if this is just a standard side-scroller platform, we are going to squeeze every bit of love and fun and joy out of that stone. And I love that about this company. So I'm I'll show you some other stuff real quick that was worth looking at. I mean, Luigi's Mansion 2. So Luigi's Mansion 2 is coming out very, very soon, HD. I never cared for Luigi Mansion 1, and I don't even know if I played 2. I didn't really get into it until Luigi's, the one that was more of an adventure. But I don't remember what that was called. And then the new one, like the Moon one. So the last two I played to completion. I thought they were fantastic. So I am looking forward to actually jumping into Luigi's Mansion 2 for the first time. But I love the core mechanics, and they're adding new stuff. And so that'll be coming out, I believe, very, very soon. I mean, certainly this year. Okay, Nintendo Switch expand. Oh, this is Four Swords if you want to play that on your, if you subscribe to their service. I never played it, don't really care. Oh my God, this looks awesome. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Tons of new mini games, tons of new maps that look really interactive and cool. The best part about this is 20-player online. Are we doing this? Legend's been a member for 36 months. He says, hey, Jaffe, when's the next game night and what are we playing? The next game night is probably going to be Fortnite because everybody can play it. And so we will be playing that. But you goddamn right, when this comes out, I believe this holiday season, this is going to be a game night because you can get 20 people online playing this goddamn thing. I'm super fucking jazzed, super excited for this. So this they showed, I'm telling you, just one great, compelling title after another. Now, this one is my favorite. This is the new Legend of Zelda. I love 2.5D Zeldas or top-down Zeldas. I have never really cared for any of the 3D Zeldas, from Ocarina to Majora's to the you know, I loved Tears of the Kingdom in terms of sort of what it did, and I thought it was fascinating and interesting and compelling. But after that wore off, I didn't really find living in the game world and having that adventure fun. This, you guys, you have to understand. There was a game that not a lot of people played or people don't talk about called Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds. And it came out, it was the first Zelda that came out before Breath of the Wild, okay? And what was great about it was the first time they said, we don't care how you solve this. You can solve this in whatever order you want. We're going to give you the ability to, I think there were masks that you rented from this merchant. And it was like, we're going to give you those masks. You can wear those masks and you get different abilities. And you can go to any dungeon in any fucking order. And what was amazing about it was kind of like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom freedom before you actually got to experience it in Breath of the Wild. And this game seems to be taking that farther. This idea of echoes where you can basically use her magic wand. Okay, they were tools. I thought they were masks or something. Whatever, Frosty. They, you know what? They fundamentally they functioned as this thing that gave you abilities, and you could activate them in any way. So anyway, though, the point is you're playing Zelda now. Her big weapon is this thing that she can make these mirror objects, and once you've learned an object, I don't know if there's like a fuel source, like you can't just make them infinitely, or I don't know what the limiting factor is, but you can start making them anywhere, and you can learn echoes of enemies and place enemies in the environment. You can place items in the environment, and you can use them in all kinds of unique, interesting ways, and they don't care how you solve the puzzle. It's kind of, how do you want to, like this? It's like, oh, I've got some boxes, I'll do that. And then she's like, I don't know what the limiting factor is, but to being able to just make echoes. Otherwise, you'd make the same goddamn thing all day long. But I think this looks really, really fun, really, really cool, really, really compelling. And I love the art style. And this was the art style they used for, what was the last one they did that was a remake in this art style? And I couldn't stand that game because it was non-intuitive. Like, I got to a point in a dungeon where I got stuck. And I finally went online, and the answer to it was like, nobody would fucking know that. It was like the fucking Metroid Dread Room. It's like, how am I supposed to know that? Don't start with me. So I'm looking forward to playing a Zelda in this art style that is actually a modern design sensibility. So You don't like the art style, says Coco. Oh, really? I think it looks fantastic. It looks great. But anyway, this was one of their big reveals. Let's see. Rob the Mod's favorite game, Dance Dance Revolution, aka Nightmare Fuel. Look at these people, look so crazy. That's not first party, but whatever. Lego Horizon, looks good, right? I mean, we already saw this at Sony's, but this is going to be out this holiday season. It's multiplayer online as well, and it's the first Horizon game I've ever seen where I'm like, all right, if it's $40, yeah, I'll play it. Looks like fun. It doesn't look like it takes itself too seriously. So they showed that, of course. And then they showed, what did they oh, right, of course, Metroid. So they locked it down with Metroid. The funny thing about Metroid, I'll go to the chat in just a second, you guys. I'm sorry, I just wanted to go through these. Funny thing about this game is, now again, I'm excited for this game. I don't hate Metroid. I did not like Metroid Dread. But Metroid as a franchise, I think, is quite cool. And I'm excited for this one. I don't think, it's kind of like the Indiana Jones thing at Xbox. I mean, if you strip away the pedigree, the franchise, the IP, it just looks generic. I mean, there's nothing about this that's all that interesting, right? But the fact is, it's Metroid, so fuck it. I'm sure it's going to be great, and it's Nintendo. And then I found out today that Dylan Job, who, if you don't know Dylan, I worked with Dylan over on Twisted Metal Black, and he was the director, I think, of War of the Monsters. Then he was the director of Warhawk for PS3. And he's since kind of moved around a couple different companies. He did Starhawk, and I think their company that shut down was called Lightbox. Is this still Retro? I don't know who's making this game, but he's clearly there. I get the sense that he is maybe directing it or a lead designer on it. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he's a really talented video game maker. So I am excited to see what he brings next in his influence. Now, I am surprised, though, that I saw some news stories today. Like IGN was like, there's people asking if this game is... it says, many of you wondered if Metroid Prime Beyond 4 footage was running on Switch 2. What? You got rocks in your head? If this is on Switch 2, people are going to be very disappointed at Switch 2. I think it looks good for Metroid and looks good for a Switch game, but who in the fuck is looking at this and going, this would make me happy if this was my next generation Nintendo? Now, I don't need great graphics from Nintendo. That's not what they're about, and I appreciate that. But this doesn't even look like this doesn't look like a generational jump even for Nintendo. This looks like a Switch 1 title, doesn't it? But I guess people are confused and they think, no, maybe this is Switch 2. I imagine what they will do is have a Switch 2 version, just like they did with Twilight Princess and all that shit. But, Metroid Prime 4, yeah, Jeff says, I never played the original. I wonder I wonder if this will be... for me, it looks okay. I think, yeah, if you don't know Metroid, it's like, okay, I'll wait and see. But I would definitely say that, I hope that this is not just a reskin or something. I mean, this is a brand new game, right? I know somebody educate me on this, because I don't follow Metroid as closely as perhaps I should, but I know there was a Metroid Prime, and obviously 2 and 3. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, is that just a remake or a HD update, or is that a real brand new game? Okay, Frosty says it's a new game. Okay, in that case, then I'm sure there's going to be a lot of quality of life improvements and things that you would expect if you play first-person titles. Okay, great, it's new. I'm excited. That's good. Legend says it will definitely be a Switch 2 launch title. Right. Yeah, there's no doubt. That they'll launch with it. It may also be on Switch, but there's absolutely no doubt. And I imagine what they're showing is on Switch 1. Jaffe, where's Romancing Saga 2 Remake and Dragon's Quest Trilogy? I only showed the stuff I give a shit about. If you want to watch it, you can go watch it. I mean, they had a lot of good third-party stuff. They did have Dragon's Quest remakes. They had Perfect Dark online, but I saw Gene Park playing it today, and he said it's terrible. Every time you turn, he had video up of just like real terrible blur. Like he's like, you can't even fucking play it. But anyway, Anyway, there you go. That's happening. So Morgan says they just added a name to Metroid Prime 4. Okay, so is it a remake or not? Anyway, okay. Let's move forward, shall we? But that's what IGN was wondering. Now, Sony's skipping Gamescom again. Here's what I want to... Let me go to the chat before we talk about the story first, though. Hang on. I want to make sure that you guys are getting all the attention that you deserve. Right? Okay, hang on. Let me make sure I got these here. Easy, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, Jaffe, I went back to playing Elden Ring after a year, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now. I went back. I mean, I never stay away more than 3 months, but I've come back to it. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't take me that long, but it takes me about, maybe 20 minutes to remember, okay, the run is not pushing down on L3, it's circle. I don't know how many times I fucking died in that game when I come back to it after a while because I think I'm going to run and I suddenly crouch, but yeah, I mean, it comes back pretty easy, at least for me. Okay. I made the mistake, says Dave Calzone, 12 months. Thank you, buddy, for starting New Game Plus a while ago. So now I have to get back to Mog, who's the guy you got to kill, to open up the DLC so I can play the DLC. Well, like I said, I may actually just start from scratch anyway because I want to get it on PC and I want to put a mod because I love this game and I'm just, I'm getting to the point in the game where it's just so fucking frustrating that I don't know if I can, I don't want to miss out on the DLC and the rest of this game because I just say, fuck it, it's too much. And buying it again, putting a mod on that lets me slow it down to 80% when I'm in combat, I can live with that. I don't have any ego involved with this. I just want to have the experience, Okay, thank you guys for those nice chats. J-Lord, we'll get to you in just a second, your earlier chats, but I do want to let you know. Now, I don't like this. We've gotten in some good merch recently. Charlie Kane t-shirts. I'll show those off next show. Twisted Metal ice cream, Sweet Tooth ice cream treats, Twisted Treats, hoodies. That's really great. I've been wanting to make this hat that I'm about to show you for a while, and it came out okay, but I made the mistake of picking the wrong kind of top. Like this, here it is. It's the Calypso Needles 2024 campaign hat. The problem with it is, I mean, if you like this style of hat, but I should have ordered, I think what they call the dad hat, because when my head, you put it on, I guess you can see it if you're looking that way, but I don't like I like the hats when the stuff pops like that. Whatever. The point is, if you're interested in a hat like this, Calypso Needles, they are running for president. They may actually make the debates next week. We're waiting to see if they get on the ballot in Nebraska. And if they do, they may give the big boys a run for their money. Moriarty Raygun's back there. They'll be competing with Moriarty Raygun. Absolutely, 100%. Somebody was asking me, they said, Jaffe, if you believe so much in streaming, why don't you have a PS Portal? And my answer is very, very simple, because the PS Portal, only, at least at the moment, and I know there was an update recently, and I know where it's going. But right now, my understanding is you have to have your PlayStation 5 on. It's not like streaming in the sense that, you can turn on your PC or you can take your Portal to the coffee shop and play. I know you can. But Wi-Fi being that far away from your home unit. But my understanding is, though, that they are moving towards, of course, sort of a cloud gaming, which they already have solution, which will allow the Portal to do that. But frankly, at that point, why would I want to buy a Portal? I'll just play it on my phone at that point, right? So that's the reason I don't have one. It just doesn't appeal to the way I game. I don't game mostly on a big TV. I like sitting at a computer monitor, even if I'm console gaming. But, we'll see. But that's the reason. Have I played Ghost Hunter? No, I never have, and I know it's out in June. I don't know if they've dropped it yet on PlayStation Plus Premium. But that's the game from one of the European studios, first party for PS2. And I think you play a dude who is a cop, right? And he's investigating a murder. and it turns out in this school there's all these fucking ghosts and shit. I'm looking forward to playing that because I always wanted to play it. That came out about the same day as Sony Europe's Primal, and Primal got all the press, and Ghost Hunter just kind of came and went. But I hear people talking about it, and I love Ghost and all that shit. So, you know, somebody's asking if I'm going to get a Steam Deck. No, because I don't like playing portable. I'm an old guy at this point, right? My eyes are, I'll play portable, like simple games that, you know, but if you want me to play something like Elden Ring on this, and I'm supposed to be able to see the fucking stats and read and recognize the tells of the enemy, I can't fucking do that shit with a small little screen. So no, it's not my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people love it, but I have no desire to get one. No. Okay, you should play Murdered Soul Suspect, says Fonzie. You are a private detective who gets murdered. Are you the ghost? Yeah, that's not the one from Cage. David Cage did the one with Elliot Page and was it Willem Dafoe? What was that one? From a Sony first party thing. Okay. Anyway, I'll look into it. But yeah, so plus I got so many fucking games to play like right now, man. I don't got any fucking time to play anything else. Sony has decided, Ace, that's for you. I was going to throw it over there, but I don't want to scare him. Beyond Two Souls, that's what that was called, right? What's your take on VR, Jaffe, says Shane. You know, I've said many, many times, I'm a big believer in AR. I think it will literally change our society in the same way cell phones, for better and for worse, have, or smartphones, whatever you want to call them. VR is great as it relates to spatial immersion, but I have yet to see any games that are better because they're in VR, and thus even though I don't get sick when I play VR, the heat factor, it's kind of a pain to set up, kind of slides around a little bit. All those little things chip away at the spatial immersion is so great that I just inevitably, like most gamers, end up running back to the flat screens. But I mean, I've played VR forever and I think it's amazing. But I just, after the wow factor wears off, I don't, you know, I won't do much with it. It just doesn't call me back. Okay. So let's talk Sony, Skip, and Gamescom. Now, here's what I've been saying for a while. When people say, what is that about, man? They don't, you know, their state of play was anemic. Xbox had a great show. Now Nintendo had a great show. Sony needs to answer. And what I always say to this, is that Sony right now doesn't need to answer any of these issues because they're flying off the shelves. And your average consumer, and this is Microsoft's fault, you know, their marketing so far has been horrific when it comes to Game Pass and all this stuff. Maybe it'll change this Christmas. I hope so. But, you know, the average gamer is not aware of a lot of the shows over the last week. And frankly, PlayStation is currently just embedded in the culture as you might, you know, back in the day, people said there was a line in an 1989 movie called Parenthood, where one of the characters says, oh, well, if she's so smart, how, you know, or she says something like, oh, she's still playing Nintendo, the grandma. And it got a big laugh from the audience, not because they were hardcore Nintendo fans, but because Nintendo was just shorthand for video game. I think for most people right now, PlayStation has kind of carved that out, at least for, you know, people who are into console games and games, not like Fortnite and stuff. So they don't have to say anything right now. But I do think this was the first time I saw where they're skipping Gamescom or another big show, or they're just kind of like, yeah, we're staying out of the fray. We're above that. Where it stopped being like, yeah, that makes sense, and now starts to feel like, I don't know if that's the best idea for them at a pure business level. In the past, I would have agreed, like, it doesn't matter. But, and it doesn't mean Xbox is going to eat their lunch this generation. I can't imagine that. But there's so much talk about how good those shows were, and so much talk about, these other games that are still ruling the roost, the service games, they're not really in the conversation anymore when it comes to games looking forward and new generations of gamers. Like, it feels like they're not going to get hurt by skipping Gamescom, of course, and maybe they're skipping because they don't have anything to show yet that they feel comfortable with. But I definitely think, it's getting to the point that they're releasing so few things that it may start to hammer away at their perception of just being unassailable. Now, that's my take. I don't know if you agree. Let me go to the chat. I think Sony's skipping it because they have nothing ready to show. I mean, that's almost as bad. Astrobot says N will eat Nintendo and Xbox in 2024. I mean, but that's not true, right? That is, I mean, there's nothing in what you just wrote in Spall that would suggest that that's true. Okay. Which is not to say Astrobot doesn't sound potentially great, but no one's looking at Astrobot or Horizon Lego the same way they're looking at Zelda. And some of that is just the fact that they haven't, earned that with those franchises yet. But I don't think, I just don't think you're right. I don't think Sony historically has been able to connect with the big family audience. And maybe it's different. We talked about this the other day because now PlayStation original fans are now parents, and they probably, just like with Nintendo kids who came up with Nintendo and Atari like me, that's sort of what they think of when they want to share it with their new kids or their kids who are now old enough to game. So I do think it will do well. And I do hear it's, I know the team is great. They did Puppeteer. They did the last Astrobots. But in terms of eating Xbox and Nintendo in 2024, you may be right, man, but I would be really fucking surprised. On that. Since Herman is the head of PS Studios, says Neo, Sony doesn't need to do big shows. I would like to know your POV as ex-producer because Herman was a head of a studio, and he is pro devs. I mean, my opinion on what, Neo? I don't understand. My opinion on Sony not needing to do shows? I don't think Sony needs to do shows at the moment. I think Sony has, they're ruling the roost. What's the point? Why risk putting your foot in your mouth, right? But I do think, though, because Xbox, if it works, it probably won't, but if it works, is going to suddenly appear as a meaningful competitor. And Nintendo just came out with a huge show. And most kids these days don't give a fuck about that anyway. They care about Fortnite and Roblox and that kind of shit. And those things are still going strong. So I do think we are going to get to a point sooner than later where Sony does have to get themselves back in the conversation. But I don't think Gamescom is going to matter as much. But I do think they need to get out there with some shows. And I don't, Herman may just be like, yeah, I'd love to, Jaffe, but we don't have the software yet. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Free Jack says Sony has all the gamer capital in the world. For Xbox, it'll take a dent. It would take months or years. Right. No, I get it. I'm not, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I hate to keep using the analogy because it was tired before I started using it last week. It's super tired now, but the kind of overly quoted Wayne Gretzky, go where the puck is, not where the puck, or go where the puck will be, where it's going, not where the puck is. That seems to be what Sony, at least from an outside observer, based on sort of what they communicate, they seem to think that all they need to do is keep doing what they've been doing and they're going to be great. And I just think the industry is shifting under their feet in very dramatic ways. And if there's not stuff going on behind the scenes to suggest they're prepping for that, then I think eventually they're going to wake up and they're going to be Nintendo, after or right before the Wii with the GameCube, right? Laugh my ass off, says Arcane. This guy's smoking something strong. This is what I understand. If you are talking about me, and I'll get to these super chats in a second, But this is what really bothers me. And maybe, you know, I don't know. I should stop being bothered by it. I should just accept that, you know, you're not really going to get everybody who gives a fuck about having an actual conversation or listening. And maybe Arcane isn't even talking to me, but I've gotten hit with this accusation numerous times in the last week when I've been saying this kind of stuff, which is even if you disagree with what I've just said, nothing I've just said doesn't hold logic. It may not come to pass, but the idea that there are people out there that you can't really even engage with in a conversation about this stuff because they are so tied into their need for some reason for this company to do this or that company to succeed or fail, that they may as well just be NPCs that have like 5 things they say and they never run afoul of that perception, and thus you can't really value their contributions to the conversation. Because while I'm not smoking anything strong, 3 Arcane, I can tell you that what I just said is the marketplace is filled with products and companies that were top of the food chain. And then the industry changed because a disruptor came along, and the people who were at the top were like, we're fine, we got this. And before you knew it, they were out of business. What did I read the other day? Blockbuster Video, I think it was like 15 years ago or something to the day where it was some event occurred in their corporate history where that was the moment where it all fucking, I think it was that they could have bought Netflix. It was like 15 years ago. They made like a $50 million offer for Netflix, or Netflix said, we want to be bought. And they said, I don't worry about it. And they never were able to get back to leadership position until they ultimately went out of business. I'm just saying that that's business. That's Nintendo went through it. Sony went through it with PS3. They managed to come out of it with different leadership for PS4. But if you come to this show and you think that you can get away with just saying stupid things without really thinking them through, I'm sorry, but you can't, because it's frustrating to see people with that level or inability to communicate and think through things beyond a second grade level. Isn't that mean to 3 Arcane? I know. I don't mean to be. I'm sure you're a nice fella. Folletti, whatever you are. Listen to this. Alejandro stops by, says, Jaffe, listen. Does Sony need more? They've already released big heavy hitters this gen. They need more to keep going until does Sony need more? They already released their big heavy hitters of this gen. I hope they haven't released all of those. They need more of them to keep going until the next iteration of those. Well, yeah, though, and this is why I was saying, and there's a video up, you can watch the video, but if you're interested, but this is why I was saying they should buy Ubisoft, and I wasn't saying it because Ubisoft makes better games than Sony. It was because they need a bigger release, they need a bigger schedule scope of release like Microsoft is going to have if it actually works. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. And they just don't have enough content in the pipeline. Some of that's because things got canceled because the live service games, but a lot of it is because these fucking things are taking forever to make, and that's fine. But you need to make more, because there's going to come a point where 4 games a year, 2 of which might be things you don't care about. I was telling somebody this today. It's like, if Sony's going to put out 4 games, big games a year, but one of them is going to be a Gran Turismo and the other one's going to be an MLB The Show, or, a Rise of the Ronin 2, just because they put out 4 games doesn't mean you're going to like all 4 of them. There's going to come a point where you're like, do I really need to be investing in a $600 system just for a couple of games I can only get here when I could get a better deal elsewhere? That's all I'm saying. Living Legend, thank you, buddy. Drops super chase, says, Jaffe, let's face it, you old fuck. I added the old fuck because it makes me seem folksy and likable. Jaffe, let's face it. Nintendo doesn't care about our favorite gorilla and his spider monkey sidekick. If all we get is Donkey Kong Country Returns Remaster, is it too much to ask for a 3D Donkey Kong, let alone a new 2.5D DKC? Well, first off, I think they still care very much. I think you know that because we have a ride coming at the Universal theme parks, which looks awesome, which is the first roller coaster I've ever seen that actually, it doesn't really come off the tracks, but it comes off the tracks when you hit a jump, and then there's like a bar underneath the mine cart you're on, and it pops you up and it feels like you're jumping from one track like an Indiana Jones to the other minecart track. That's pretty fucking cool. And you know, Donkey Kong's a big part of the movie. I don't think they're like, fuck Donkey Kong. But I do think, here's what I think. I think the 3D platformer, which is what you're asking for, and I would love to see that. I would love to see a return to form of that. I mean, you can get those at AA level and single and A level, indie level. I don't know what's keeping them from. I know you could say, well, that's Mario, man. That's Mario Odyssey or whatever. Yeah, kinda. But I'm talking like I think you're talking, like a traditional rare Banjo-Kazooie classic 3D platformer structure. I don't know if they're just like, look, we've run the numbers. Those things don't sell, or we're making. I couldn't tell you. But since I haven't played this one, I think it looks good and they're getting a quality of life improvement. I'm super fucking in. But I do appreciate the super chat, buddy. Also, PG's been a member for 4 months. He says, Jaffe, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, these women won't shut up. David Jaffe, make it a drop, please. I don't know what that means. Is that a quote from me? These women won't shut up. And if it is, why would I have said that? What was I talking about? And when you say make it a drop, do you mean make it like a sound bite that I can just play from time to time? If you do, okay, cool. Right. Prince Green says, talking about Sony's untouchable. He says, yeah, people said forever that Microsoft would always be the number one company. And then Apple took over, and now NVIDIA is the number one company. So I don't know. Legend of Zelda is not woke now. What do you got, rocks in your head? You keep saying the industry's shifting. Where? More towards Sony? Arathizel, come on, man. You're not debating in good faith. You're just yeah. Here's, but I'll get to Arathizel. 3 Arcane says, Jaffe, I wasn't talking to you. It was the super chat. Here's what you have to understand. Because the show just rolls and I got to keep it moving. There have been times I will do a whole 30 minutes of content on a comment that wasn't even directed at me, but the essence of what I'm talking about still works. So I apologize if you got the collateral damage, 3 Arcane, but the what I said still applies, not to you though, but I appreciate you clarifying. But yeah, the industry, I mean, I don't look, let me show you when you say, I mean, to feign ignorance, and that's gotta be what it is at this point. You're pretending that you don't know what I'm talking about. Let me, forget the Fortnites for a moment. Forget the Robloxes, forget that kids are playing on their phones and tablets and PCs more, and they don't really give that much of a fuck about console, right? Forget the fact that Microsoft now is the biggest publisher in the world. Forget the fact that Nintendo is still going strong. Forget all those things that are reflective, and forget the fact that Sean Layden, which we'll talk about in a minute, along with another number of other people, have been sending up warning flags forever, going, the way we think of video games that Sony makes or Microsoft makes traditionally is not going to be able to continue because it's getting too expensive and the audience isn't growing. Okay. But here's a good example. If you look at the UK box charts for this week, this, by the way, this is not bad news for Sony. They got some stuff in there. They got Gran Turismo in there. They got Spidey 2 is still in the top 10, which is excellent. They have, I want to say, I don't think MLB The Show would be in there. God of War, because it's the UK. God of War Ragnarok is in there. Last of Us Remastered. But Helldivers is now at number 32. It is finally, people have sort of cooled on that. And it's been a big hit, a wonderful game. People love it. But that's not a long time for a service-based game to be sitting at the top of the charts. But more importantly, I'm very surprised. Sony has to be pleased by the legs on this title. And I don't mean Stellar Blade, because we're less than 2 months for Stellar Blade. It's not even in the top 40 anymore when it came to sales of box products, or in the top 10 when it comes to sales of digital products last month when it had been out for a month. Do you know what's still in the, what's number 25, 26 though? Is Rise of the goddamn Ronin. And I haven't even played it. I hear it's good. I think it probably got some negative blowback when it was launched. I think the Metacritic is like a 78 or something. It's kind of janky. The open world stuff I hear is kind of samey and boring. But the people who actually play it say it is quite delightful. And it's kind of cool to see that game I don't know if Sony owns the IP, but it's obviously a first-party published title and exclusive to PlayStation. It's kind of cool to see that game hanging in there, even with those criticisms. That's a rare thing, unless you're like a massive hit that stays in the top 10 forever. Hasn't gotten a price drop, so it's there on its own Steam, which is pretty fucking cool. All right, let me go to the chat. I know I'm a little bit behind, and I apologize for that. Okay. No, sorry. I'm trying to read. Where? I can't read that anymore. I've already addressed that. Yeah, but Cap says Embracer bought studios and looked what happened. Yeah. So Sony bought Insomniac and look what happened. I mean, people buy studios all the time. Activision bought, who was it? Infinity Ward is EA, right? But Activision originally bought from EA Infinity Ward, who made the Call of Duty games. I mean, if acquisitions didn't work, they'd stop doing them. They totally work sometimes, and other times they don't. Okay. Xbox games on PlayStation makes Sony look terrible, says Understanding. No. Why? Why does that make Sony look terrible? I mean, most people don't care. Most people don't give a fuck. They just go, oh, Sea of Thieves, cool. I don't think that makes Sony look bad. I could be wrong, though. Jaffe, listen, instead of Sony buying Ubisoft, I would choose to take Two because they have a huge lineup. You may be right. I'm not that familiar with their lineup other than, of course, their sports games and Grand Theft Auto. But Ubisoft has some great IP. They have some great, consistent, dependable development teams, and they make games at that scale and scope that I think they're going to need if they're going to want to go toe-to-toe in terms of not quality. You can hear it now. What do you mean go toe-to-toe? They're already number one. Hey, where's my pills? I don't mean that. I mean go toe-to-toe as it relates to scope and scale and amount of content per year released. That's what I'm talking about, fellas. So I don't know. Okay. Apparently having a female protagonist is woke. If that's the case, then Metroid was woke, says Just Incredible Guy. Yeah, are you talking about Zelda? Zelda, she's been in Zelda since the first one. People they can't be serious, fellas. Hello, Addy Pie. They can't be serious that this is actually bothering them. That if you look at The Legend of Zelda, whatever it's called, Echoes to Echoes, whatever the fuck, and you walk away going, I don't want to play that because it's woke or they've gone woke, you're a moron. I mean, I'm not saying you don't have a pot to piss in when it comes to some of the complaints these anti-woke people make. That's fine. But to say that Zelda is, why? That's ridiculous. Please tell me that's a joke. Seriously, I'm not fucking with you. Please tell me that is not a real thing that bothers people. Machine XP, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, people are still comparing PlayStation versus Xbox console sales as a 1-to-1. Xbox allows users to access their games 3 ways: PC, cloud, console. PlayStation has one option. Well, I guess, unless you count Portal, but sure. PS 1.5, console. Strange folks are using this. Here's what I'm going to tell you, Machine. I had a guy call into the show about 2 weeks ago, and it was when we were having the discussion about Elden Ring difficulty. And I had assumed that these people that are out in the world talking about, get good, and if you can't get good, that's a you problem, and I worked really hard at this, and you're taking away my win and all that. I was just like, these people don't really exist, do they? And again, I'm not knocking them. They just value different things than I value. But I was surprised that this guy called in and he's like, but don't you think if you add an easy mode to Elden Ring or you had a dynamic difficulty slider, wouldn't that make it less cool or less impressive or less of a sense of pride if you beat it? And I'm just like, my God, man, I've been playing games since, before Space Invaders, video games. It never once occurred to me that pride came with playing video games. I had fun with them, and I love them, but pride? But there are people who feel that way. So maybe in this case, they really care, Machine XP, about, who sells more consoles. I mean, I did, here's what I'll tell you, though. When I was on the Thor and Jez show yesterday, Thor was a guy who was able to actually articulate in a way that I said, okay, that makes sense. I said, well, what does it matter? Why do you really care if Xbox does better or this thing? And he says, I just don't want the hardware to go away. And I said, why? And he said, because I've been an Xbox player since Xbox One. And I have this physical and digital library that if my hardware goes away, I'm not going to be able to play my stuff. Now, I don't think that is a reason to adjust your business strategy if you're Microsoft, because he knows this, is a very vocal minority, and that's not future facing. But at least I was like, okay, I get it. That makes sense. Doesn't make sense to me. It's not what motivates me. But that was somebody who was articulating why I want Xbox to stay in the game in a way that's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. But most of these people, it seems like it just comes from a fucking place of ego or something, man. I don't know what to tell you, but I hear you. Yeah, Activision, that's right. Goodrich, Dave Goodrich, game designer of, Vigilante 8, Twist Metal Black Online, bunch of stuff. Activision bought Luxoflux and Treyarch, he says. That's right. People buy shit and it works out great all the time. Okay, let's keep going. Totally sick of onions. He unzips his furry suit, steps out, not wearing a stitch of clothing, which is weird because he looks like a Ken doll. There's no penis down there. There's nothing. But that's okay. We like him. We like the cut of his jib. He says, Jaffe, listen, I've been a member for 43 months and I'm tired of this shit. You got to answer my question. When will Life of Jaffe Simulator come out? Thank you, Totally Sick of Onions, for the support, the duration, and showing us your very strange naked body. Okay, honestly, let's not fuck around. You think I'm doing a bit? Sure, but I can also deliver the actual news. One moment. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not even fucking with you. By the time I kick the can, hopefully I don't die young, but if I lived 85, 90, like my parents, you'll have that, right? I have such a social media footprint, that it'll be nothing for AI to just go, oh, I want to know what you know about David Jaffe, and then I want you to build me a video game simulation based on his life. And the AI would say, cool, I can do that. What are the win conditions? Okay, I want to run a scenario with his life. What would have happened if Twisted Metal 2012 would have been a hit? I'm going to tell you something. So this is what I'm saying. You've got to be impressed with how prepared I am. I'm not looking this up. I'm clicking a button. This was already prepared to talk about, but it dovetails beautifully, good Sir Onions. I was thinking about this today. Twisted Metal 2012, there was one decision, and I don't know what would have happened if we had made that decision, but one decision, there's a very good probability this game would have been successful enough to get DLC, to become more profitable than it was. It barely broke even, and that was after it had gone to like greatest hits, and you could stream it on PlayStation Plus and all that shit. Barely broke even. I think the most I ever made in bonuses on this game was like $700, right? Squeaked across the finish line. But it could have had DLC, could have had a sequel. Eat, Sleep, Play could have actually still been in business. We could have sold the company by now for many millions of dollars. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but there's a good chance if we would have made a different decision on this game, my life would be totally different. And you know what that decision was? And I still to this day go, we just didn't know any better. The decision was not to have an online beta. Because maybe the game would have still ultimately not found an audience after a month, but us having such a horrible experience for the player, connecting to the online game, which was the bread and butter of this. And it wasn't that our online net code was bad, it was blazing. It was excellent. It was that Sony, and certainly us, but certainly Sony, they hadn't, had the experience of, say, Xbox with Xbox Live. And so the back end of the game, the matchmaking, the PSN ID, all the stuff that was on the Sony side of their servers in San Diego, and all the stuff that was gameplay side, and all the stuff that was peer-to-peer versus certain things were server authenticated. All of that stuff, we had very brilliant programmers that none of us, I wasn't one of them, of course, I'm not a programmer, and none of them thought, because none of us had the experience to go, we need to demand a robust, genuine beta, not a marketing beta like we had. It wasn't a beta, it was an advertisement that you could play, but a beta for about 3 months before to really get it out in the wild and see if we were, and I remember the day we had this conversation, and I didn't know any better, so I heard this brilliant programmer say, nah, it'll work, it'll just work, it's going to be fine. And it wasn't like he was a ne'er-do-well, blow shit off guy. He was one of the smartest people I've ever met. But you don't know what you don't know, no matter how smart you are. And that would have made a huge difference. And I don't know where we'd be today. Would I be sitting here talking to you guys? That would be shitty, because I love talking to you guys. I'm just saying, I just find things like that fascinating. And the point is, totally sick of onions. You could go to the simulator. See, I got back to it. Go to the simulator you're asking about and go, I want to know what, I want to play out the Jaffe simulator based on what you know about him. But I want to add this wrinkle. If Twisted Metal would have sold huge, based on what you know about Jaffe and the history of the industry that occurred at that time, I want to play that and see what would have happened. I mean, we're getting there, folks. We are getting there. So I think, it's an exciting proposition. It's an exciting proposition. Anonymous Bosch, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, what's up? God bless. Thank you, sir. I don't believe in God, but I believe in you. Wouldn't it be cool if PlayStation is actually secretly cooking right now a new SOCOM or Killzone? No, it would not. It would not. Thank you for the super chat. It would be great if they are cooking secretly or not a military, be it future or modern or whatever, military tactical action online shooter. Fuck yes. It would be great. As I've said ad nauseum, don't fucking make SOCOM. All you're going to do is piss off the fan base, and your average consumer now doesn't give a fuck about SOCOM, doesn't know what it is. The people who actually would care, they probably got 3 or 4 different fractured fan bases that say that's SOCOM, and the other group says, no, that's not SOCOM, this is SOCOM. And, excuse me, all you're going to do is just create, division. You may as well just make something new, but make SOCOM for the modern audience is what I would do. It's another reason I think Ubisoft wouldn't be a bad get either, because they have Rainbow Six Siege, which is basically that kind of, sort of, I know, don't come at me. It's got elements of it. They could certainly tweak it. And now they have their Call of Duty. X-Defiant is, it's early. It's not where it's going to ultimately be, but it's a great fucking start to a free-to-play shooter, which is what Sony doesn't have. That's another reason they should seriously consider purchasing those guys. But I appreciate the super chat, buddy. Thank you for that. It's very generous. All right, let me get rid of that. Oh, hell no. What's that? Okay, I'm sorry I'm going to miss some of these. I won't miss the super chats, but okay. Yeah, Sean says they would botch SOCOM if they made a new one. I don't think they would botch it. I think they would make potentially a great game, but it was just like in Twisted Metal. By the time we put out a new one, we didn't, fans all had different ideas of what it meant to be Twisted Metal, and you're not going to please those people. So you may as well start with something new. Obzar says, isn't Black Ops 3 free to play? Well, Warzone, Modern Warfare Warzone is free to play. Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer is not free to play. And Black Ops 6 is the new one. Are you saying that Black Ops 3, like the one from years back, is currently free to play? I mean, if it is, I didn't know that, but that's interesting to know. Okay. Yeah, it's a good point. Fonzie says a new SOCOM could be the greatest example of its genre the world had ever seen and sell like dog shit. True. Yeah, I agree. Okay. One of the Black Ops is free, says Opzar. Is it free multiplayer, or you mean you can just like you can download it for free on Xbox or something? Jaffe, if Sony buys Ubisoft as you recommend, we would lose Ubisoft Plus and under Sony's paywall. Yeah, but I don't think Ubisoft Plus is some kind of massive success anyway. I could be wrong. Maybe it is, but I don't think so. We'll see. But I like it. I use it. All right, let's move on, shall we? Good sir and madams. All right, I gotta take a Zen break. I've been talking fast. Hang on. Yeah, Black Ops is free if you have Game Pass, technically. Well, not technically, but psychologically. Okay, I'm going to take like 10 seconds to meditate. I'll be right back and we'll be all set. I'm not going anywhere, but I mean, mentally, I'm going to detach, so I'll be right back. Man, connecting with just presence is such a amazing experience. All right, let's move forward, shall we? All right. More Wolverine leaks. You guys have seen them. More Spider-Man leaks. Insomniac is excellent. The director of Wolverine is excellent. I have no doubt these will be great games. But I will tell you what I said when I saw Spider-Man 2's launch trailer or before launch trailer, which is, and it's the same thing I said when I saw Uncharted 4. You know, and I play a lot of games, guys. So I'm not saying this like I know and you don't know. But if you happen to be watching this show and you also happen to be like me in that you play a lot, so you're real familiar with the landscape of what's out there, you tend to be able to spot trends, even if the trends are, okay, I'm getting sick of this kind of game, much more than somebody who doesn't play as much as you do. And so when I saw Spider-Man 2, I was like, you know, this is kind of just, it's visually staggering, but it's fundamentally what they're asking you to do as a game is kind of the same thing. And people were like, shut up, Jaffe. I'm like, okay. And now these leaks are coming out. And again, it's unfair to judge a game. You know, I mean, these games don't look very good right now because this is leaks from a year ago. It's not meant to look good right now. It's not what it's about. So shame on anybody for actually judging the execution of these games. But if you do look at Spider-Man 3, which is basically Silk swinging around, I could show it to you, but Sony gets upset sometimes and they come after me, and I don't want that to happen. So you can look it up. It's on NeoGAF. You know, or you look at Wolverine right now. It's just, you know, it's the same stuff. And that's not bad. It's probably great for business, but you don't look like, you know, and everybody's going to be different. But for me, I was getting bored of this stuff back in Uncharted 4. And I'm not saying I was ahead of the curve, because I'm not. I'm not smarter in that way. I'm not trying to blow smoke up my butthole. I'm just saying, by the nature of playing a lot, probably the same reason movie critics are able to dislike things for a while the audience does that loves, because they've already gotten sick of it, and they're about 3 years ahead of the audience in terms of what they get sick of, okay? Like Sean says, yeah, same template with a new skin, right? So it's because they made Mary Jane ugly. Oh, shut up. So my point of this, though, is that it is troubling when you look at these leaks at a gameplay level and go, these all just, you know, Wolverine's sense of smell is basically, at least it seems like, you know, Batman detective sense, or Alloy has something where you hit the R3 stick and she can sense things, right? And it's just all that kind of stuff, right? And I bring it up for a few reasons. So I bring it up because Sean Layden was on Games Industry Biz, a little podcast. The man, I just want you to understand, whatever you may think of me, and I'm sure it's brilliant and wonderful things, people They know I don't play their game. I serve at the pleasure of you guys as best I can at the audience. I talk to Sean. Sean and I tweet back and forth. We've had Zooms, just personal one-on-one catch-up Zooms. He got no beef with me. I got no beef with him. But he knows good and well he comes on my show, I'm going to talk about China and about where he's getting his money from. And it doesn't mean he's wrong, but he don't want to answer that shit. So he goes where he can control the message, and that's fair. And he's a smart guy, one of the smartest people working out there right now. Eternal, I'm going to get back to that comment. I don't think I agree with you. I'll put it up here. But here's what he says. Sean Layden said, this is my Cliff Notes, or, well, this is NeoGAF where I'm reading it, but it's his advice on making games faster and cheaper. He says, and I think he's right on every one of these goddamn things. He says, most gamers don't see the end of your game, so design fewer levels and make your game shorter. 100%. 100%. He says, number 2, the tech advancements in games is not getting noticed by the majority of players. So ask yourself, is it worth the investment? We've been saying this for a while on this show, not just me. We've been saying this for a while. Remember that big news that came out and all the press was creaming in their pantyhose? Nobody would wear pantyhose. Hang on. I want to see what percentage of people still wear pantyhose. Probably not many. The number of women in the U.S. who bought regular pantyhose declined 40% between 2009 and 2013. Some people who still wear them are older women who consider them ladylike, women who work in conservative institutions like banks or courtrooms, women who like to dress up and think pantyhose can cover flaws of aging legs and look more polished. But most people have given up on the pantyhose. Here's what's really, really fucking scary. In literally 1 minute, I have forgotten how we've gotten to pantyhose. I don't know pantyhose. I don't know how we got to pantyhose. How did we get to pantyhose? Oh yeah, they were creaming in their pantyhose, right? Remember when the game press was creaming in their pantyhose because what are they called? The Naughty Dog folks were like, hey, look what we've done, procedural generated animation. So if your character butts up against a wall, you're never going, it's going to calculate between like 50 mocap moments and tween between a couple of them. And so it's going to really be based on the dynamic physics. And it's like, how many days, weeks, months went into that? Nobody noticed it. Nobody cared. Sean Layden's right. The tech advancement in games not getting noticed. I mean, maybe you want to have some skunkworks group always pushing the engine forward, but you don't want to put that cost on the teams. Try AI and develop tools to do some heavy lifting and don't just throw people at the problem, of course. Finally, be disciplined and strict on what you can deliver and when. Don't spend too long on an idea if it's not working. All of this is absolutely true. Movie Maniac says, in fairness, 11 years ago, that was neat. I'm not saying it wasn't neat then, and the stuff they're working on isn't neat now. I'm saying that what Sean is saying is most people aren't going to notice it. And I'm sorry, I get that it's cool to you, Akimax. No one, I don't think anybody would go, it's not cool. But if you're playing a video game and that's what you're noticing, there's a problem with the video game. None of that Sean Layden is saying is hard to infer. It may not be hard to infer, but it's clearly hard to do. I mean, make games shorter because people don't see the end. It's so obvious. Yeah, I understand. Again, can somebody give the man his fucking flowers? He's a very smart guy. It doesn't take anything away from your fucking ego to go, man, Sean Layden has been saying this kind of stuff for the longest fucking time. And nobody's saying they're ugly games. Bad Robo says ugly and short games are exactly the opposite of what I want. There are indie and AAA, AA games. It doesn't seem that they are much more profitable. Well, of course they're more profitable because they cost less to make. They may not sell as much. I don't have hate for him. I'm saying Layden should be given his fucking flowers because he's got smart shit to say. But let's move on because it's kind of not just him. I'll save that till tomorrow. That's not that it's relevant, but you're not going to care about that right now. All I can tell you though is one of the reasons that Nintendo is still hanging in there and still absolutely relevant, even given that their budgets are what they are. I want to show you this. It's the, not to be a dork, but it's the gameplay, stupid. I understand this is not a game that's going to go out and sell tons of copies. But if you really love games, this is the kind of stuff that excites me. And I'll share it with you and you tell me what you think. The demo's out right now on Steam Next Fest. This is called Sunset Devil. And here's what's really neat about it. If you look at it, you would be forgiven for assuming all it is just some kind of isometric shooter. What it is every single gun in the game has a different mechanic, and I'm playing it with the mouse, right? So if you just take a 6-shooter, because it's an Old West game if you're not looking, if you just take a 6-shooter, you don't just pound the button and shoot. You have to basically...
the thrill of reloading during a battle.
Yeah, hang on. So when you fire and you're out of bullets, you have to open... It says open frame. I didn't know that's what it was called, but you have to kind of, cock the gun back. This is just the revolver. And you have to eject by pressing the right mouse button and the left mouse button independently, because there's a left and a right barrel. You have to eject the casing. And then you have to individually press those buttons to load fresh casing. And then you have to close it by pushing the mouse wheel forward. And then you have to cock the frame back, and then you can fire, right? 2 shots. And every gun is different, right? So it's not, I know, I get it. It looks tedious. It's not. There's a demo. Go play it. It is so fresh feeling and so unique and so cool, because how many times do you want to fucking play a game like Robotron? That's what it looks like. But the minute all of their weapons suddenly have these mechanics that actually are not just engaging, but they feel more like what it probably would approximate within what you can do with a mouse or a controller, it would be like to actually have a gun and load it and go through the process. You've never played a shooter like that. It's pretty fucking cool. VR games already do this, says Jake. They might, but I've never played a game that's done this. And I've played VR games, but cool. Yeah, Jeff says true gunfighting mechanics. Right. It's really cool. So, and there's other ones too, but my point is that, this is where the magic is. And it doesn't mean, I get it, you're not going to want to play a game that looks like this if you've come up with it's not a Nintendo game, no. But why does it need to look like a game from 1999, says Blackjack? It doesn't. But this is where it starts. This is where the bread and butter is. This is where the foundation of the house needs to be. And then you can build on top of it, right? But again, this is the sex, man. This is the juice. It's not the graphics. How many games have you seen that look great? And then they just kind of play generically and you move on in 10 minutes. You never go back to it. Anyway, I'll tell you what, if you have a computer, it'll certainly run on pretty much whatever kind of potato you got. Pick it up on Steam. It's free. It's a demo. It's called Sunset Devils. Play it and come back tomorrow or in the next Gabbin' Games. Let me know what you think. I think it's a really fun, delightful little experience. Here's another one, by the way. There's a new developer. Let me just give you the story. It's actually a really good story. Games Industry Biz writes about this developer called, I guess their new company's called Ant Workshop. But these guys worked for 15 months on a game that was called Dungeon Golf. And they released it. Nobody bought it. They spent $750,000 on it, pounds. They spent 5-figure marketing spend, positive feedback they got, but it never managed to reach an audience. And they had this epiphany, which is not, this is obvious, but again, it's harder to put into practice, which is, why are we spending 15 months or 2 years or 20 years on a video game that fundamentally we don't even know if people are going to care about. And so they started going, we're going to start thinking about our games less like albums and more like pop songs. Okay. And they started making games for 50,000 to 100,000 pounds, and they take 4 to 6 months. And if they work, they add stuff, they build on it. but they're not precious with it for a year and a half before they realize, shit, we've wasted all this time and money. Okay. And so here's their game. This again, I get it right now. It may not appeal to you in its current visual state. It's not out yet. It's called Into the Restless Runes, right? Or Ruins, sorry. But it is a deck building game where you actually lay out the dungeon with cards that you've collected before you go through it. So there's a meta strategy of how do I build this thing in a way that will give me the most success. And then you actually get to go through the dungeon and have the adventure that you've built with the cards you've collected. Now, I don't know if it's going to work, but these guys are like, we had this idea. It took almost no time to prototype it. It was fun. And we said, hey, we're going to let's go with that. And then they've got a game they're about to put out. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But end of the day, you've spent what, $60,000? That's, it's kind of like, the game making today is kind of like bringing in a pop star and a top of the line band into a studio, and it's like, go record the next big hit album, Taylor Swift. And she's like, I haven't written anything. And her producers are like, we just got off the last album. He's like, no, just do it in real time. And it's like, no, usually what happens is you bring in a bunch of demos and tracks and stuff you've been fucking around with, and then you kind of build it over time before you start spending a lot of money. So I don't know, man. That Movie Maniac, these guys made Towerfall. Towerfall was brilliant. Alexa, stop. But yeah, all I'm saying is that there's a lot of good stuff out there. And I'm sorry if I bang the drum a lot, but I like people to know about it because it's really fucking cool, man. No, Blackjack, you're wrong. Jaffe wants Atari Joust style games, but the industry has evolved. If that's what you're getting from what I'm saying, then either I suck at communicating, Blackjack, or you're a not smart human. And both of those are acceptable scenarios in the world. But if you think I'm saying that I don't recognize that visuals not only move units, but are pleasing to the eye, that's not what I'm saying. Any more that when I started this and I was talking about the Nintendo show, and I was like, look, they put on a fucking amazing show because they were focused first and foremost on gameplay. I don't think their games, I don't think Mario and Luigi Brothership looks bad. It's just clear that their priority was the fun experience. How is this hard? How is this hard to understand? Do you really think that's what I'm saying, or are you just trolling? I wish I knew. Here's the last thing I'm going to tell you guys today. Well, let me see what else I got, because I got to run, but I am going to be back tonight, like I said, with Gina and any members who want to play, playing, where did it go? Chained Together, the new hit Twitch game, whatever. It looks really fun. It looks pretty fucking fun. So we'll be playing that later tonight. But let me just do one more story, because I do got to go drop my son off at a party. But this is a game we'll be playing about 8:45 tonight, where you and 1 to 3 other people are chained together. You're trying to escape the afterlife. And it's co-op, and it looks like a lot of fucking fun. So we'll see. But anyway, the point is, here's what I wanted to point out to you. Let me just make sure I don't have any big stories that I promised you that I'm not going to get to, that maybe I can move to tomorrow. There actually is some DEI stuff, but I'll save that for tomorrow. How much more can we talk that to death? But there a game artist who used to work at Naughty Dog has chimed in on it, and he has some examples and stuff, and it's pretty interesting. Will P. Turtle be playing if he wants? Maybe. No, I did not address that, CR. That's what I'm talking about. I will address that tomorrow. I think we could use a break from the DEI debate anyway, but I'll bring it up tomorrow. Wolverine says Eternal can track on the go without faulty gadgets that can be hacked or masked. Yeah, but you're talking about him as a human character. At the end of the day, the gameplay doesn't change because Batman has a gadget that can be hacked, and Wolverine, it's his senses. It's still the same mechanics. It's a different narrative. At least that's what I would say. Okay, I want to tell you this last thing real quick. So I was reading this kind of depressing story online today, or on Twitter. This woman tweets out, This woman tweets out that she is an artist. She does pixel work and she's broke. She's looking for work, blah, blah, blah. And, I don't bring up AI to piss people off, but I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about, the people who are in that field and her going, oh, I'd like to have a job and work again in pixels and shit. And I got to show you how fast this is, man. I just went over to chat and I said, I just want to try this. I just want to see, and we're not there yet, but we are exceptionally close, right? I was just like, what if I was making a game and I had an engine and it was like a pixel game. And I wanted to let me move this real quick. And I wanted to, create pixel art, right? Hang on. Let me move this for my game, right? What would that be like? How easy would that be in this day and age? Okay. And so I go and I say, give me 3 frames, the same character, a knight in shining armor, done in a super chibi cute pixel style of 16-bit gaming era. No background, just the characters in these poses. Where'd it go? And it came out pretty good. And then I started saying, okay, I don't know why I'm not able to see it anymore. It came out pretty fucking good. And I was like, wow, imagine if you got all the shit cleaned up. Why is this not showing? Hang on. Let me refresh. Here we go. Okay, sorry. Imagine if all this stuff got, if this stuff got cleaned up, right? Some of the lack of consistency, which it will. It's so fast, right? It is so fucking fast that you can just be like, okay, give me a pixel 16-bit image, video game style of a cute dragon on a skateboard. You can just do that, right? I was doing the lady because I wanted to do more realistic poses and characters and see what it did, and it did that. But this is how fast it is. It's not soulless. It is absolutely not soulless. If I were to show you this, or I were to show you this character, and I'm like, hey, I'm making a new game. It's like a real violent game like, what is that game? Blasphemous or Blasphemous 2, and this is the main character. I am absolutely sorry, but you would not say that. You just wouldn't. You only are saying that because you know it's coming from AI. There's nothing about them. I mean, I don't love this, so I would say, make him bigger eyes, super cute, and give him a attachment to his arm that is I don't know what it's going to do with this. That is a giant spiked glove, right? You might say it's Candy Crush, but we are in 2024 and you know where we were last year. So I'll show you something. I mean, and again, you won't even have to do the frames. You'll be able to take this into what I'm about to show you as well, right? Okay. It's like, okay. Now I could say, give me some ideas on mechanics I could do with that spiked arm, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then you guys saw this the other day. It's real slow right now because everybody's using it. Okay. This is my son, Calvin. Okay. And I put in one image of Calvin, which he looks like John Oates. This is early is what I'm saying. I literally just uploaded a picture, which is not this. It's just the first frame. And I just said, make a video with him on stage as a rock star surrounded, but it's not there yet. Okay. But this is text to video. So imagine now you are doing text to video with pixels. And then you basically say, give me a run cycle. Now break that run cycle down into individual frames that I can import into Game Maker. How would you not jump on this? I mean, how can you poo-poo? And again, I get it. When I read this woman's tweet today, I felt really bad for her, because I'm like, yeah, she spent a lot of time. She's got her own personal skills, her own personal styles. And I'm not saying I don't feel for her as a fellow human. And I'm not saying I don't want our culture, our society to have safety nets to make sure people are taken care of. But this is where we're going, and you gotta own that, you know. Awesome Tatum says our thoughts become ideas with literally no work. I just don't agree with you. I think our thoughts becoming ideas, you still have to compete. You still have to go, okay, well, fundamentally, right? There's nothing that interesting about this as a character, right? I couldn't compete with this. It's not because if I could draw it, if I paid somebody $3,000 and we arrived at this as our main character, we still couldn't compete with it because it's kind of generic. But that's not because the AI. It's generic because I haven't fed it something imaginative, right? I could, like, if I was really getting serious about this, I would say, take him and give him more of a heavy metal edge. So he seems rebellious. I spelled that wrong, but also make sure the t-shirt he wears is super cute, so there is a clear break between how he imagines he is super cool, but really we can't avoid the fact that he is still really cute. Let's see what happens. But that's the work, right? That becomes the work. You're becoming an author instead of an artist, but it's all the same. It's all tools that you look for to express what's in your head. However you use those tools. So let's see what comes up. Again, I'm not vouching for it. Okay, that's better. We're not there yet. Let's see. He's too squat. Same image and idea, but make him leaner and more athletic. All right, let's see. Neo Hagen says the only competence is who can explain to AI a better idea. Yeah, welcome to being a writer. I mean, that's like saying Stephen King, anybody can write. It's no work. It's like tons of work. You still have to be able to have an imagination and figure out the best way to express that. It doesn't always do what you think it's going to do. And they're still trying to get better at consistency between individual characters. You'll notice some slight variations or major variations, and it's like, well, that's not good, you know. But that's you know. Let me try one more. No, I want him a lot taller, like 6'2". Let's see what it does. And I'm still paying artists, by the way. I'm paying Master Luke right now. Here, I'll show you something. I'll give you a sneak peek before I wrap things up. But let me just see what this looks like. Yeah, he sometimes what happens is when you do character design, they get locked into something and you almost have to like start a brand new thread. Like I'd been trying to get her different and it just kept drawing the same thing with slight variations. So, but again, I'm not saying we're where we need to be yet. Check this out. Hang on, I want to show you guys something. Let me save this image. This is from Master Luke. I have Master Luke doing a couple things for the channel. One of them is a little simple GIF animation that plays when people subscribe to the Diet Soda Soldiers, right? So he just sent me the first draft of this. This has been really slow today. So, but let's see if I can show it to you and get him animating. Okay, so he made this guy. That's me. And what happens is he's grunting and sweating and stuff, and then he poops out Diet Cokes, and he's happy, and that's the animation that plays when you subscribe to the channel or you purchase a Diet Coke, Diet Soda Soldier membership. So animate this guy shaking violently and sweat coming off him, and he is very much in discomfort as he has, I'm just going to say stomach ache, because if I say he has to go to the bathroom, they'll probably go, it's against our service. All right. And again, I may have to show you this tomorrow because this thing is so popular that it takes time, and it may take forever. Animate this guy shaking, violently is probably the word. Shaking aggressively. God, I can't spell to save my life. Vitaphone says, if it's not replacing jobs, it's okay. If it's destroying people's livelihood, it's disgusting. I don't agree. I don't want anybody's livelihood to be destroyed. But that's progress, man. And I do want our society to be better at taking care of folks like that. But, shaking. Let me get rid of the word aggressively and sweat coming off him. I do have to go, but I want to show you this real quick. Failed to, here, let me just do this. Let me redo it. Restart, okay. Animate. All right, here we go. All right, if it doesn't work, I'll show you guys later. Yeah, machines have replaced humans since machines have existed. No difference. Failed to process the prompt. Maybe it's. I may have to subscribe. Like I subscribe to ChatGPT, and I pay $20 a month for it. These guys are so slammed right now because it's kind of the first publicly available text to video. That in that they are. Where's my screen? There we go. They tend to struggle with the number of people who are hammering. So I'll mess with it later. All right. Okay. But yeah, we made this one for the Discord, and this one didn't turn out so good. That was pretty bad. Let's see. The console one didn't work out that great either. This one was great until this part. I was like, what the fuck happened? So anyway, fellas, Suno yet. I have tried Suno. It's actually quite cool. Again, you guys seem to be mixing up the complaint about capitalism and cruelty and people's lives being ruined. Two things can be true. That is awful and bad. And I'm more than happy to vote for socialist programs and socialist candidates that will give people safety nets and take care of people as we advance technology. But I'm also very much in the camp of tools that we create to make our lives easier and faster and better, as long as they create content that people like. Now, again, if people genuinely think it's soulless, it won't sell, but I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we should avoid those experiences just because somebody might lose a job, but I do think we should take care of people when they do lose jobs. Okay. My dear, delightful friends, I will be back tonight with my pal, Gina. If there are any members, we have 2 more slots open if you have the game and you are a member. But if you're thinking of buying it, hit me up first, because I want to make sure that we haven't already filled those slots. But we're going to be playing Chain Together about 8:45. I'm running right now to drop my kid off at a birthday party. And then I'll be back live streaming on this very channel. I say 8:45 to 9, not later than 9. But we'll start between that. I just got to depends how traffic is and stuff. Okay. But for now, though, that has been Gabbing and Games. Don't forget, check out the podcast of this show. Check out the Patreon. Consider subscribing. Consider buying a membership for yourself. All of the super chats and members today, thank you so much. Rob the Mod, thank you so much for modding the show today. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. All right, I got to run. Be well, be safe, and thanks, guys. Wait, that's not it. Where's the fix?